What's up everyone, we're going to be going through the best NBA player props on Prizepicks today. Now I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group, and as you guys see, we actually got 20 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. So we're on a huge hot streak, but if you want to get 20 picks right like me, win more bets and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon, which should be a link down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $1,000 just yesterday, and another member who won $146 for the 5th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description, so go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group, and I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. And I also want to give a quick shout out to Santana, who commented on my last video, let's see some green, and also shout out to Jolly WZ, who commented cashed out 3 times watching your vids. So shouts out to them, and guys and girls, if you do want to be in the running to get a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is like and comment on this video and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. Alright, so let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're going to be talking about is none other than Cason Wallace, and this one is for 1.5 3 points made, and this one is for less. Now when we look at someone like Cason Wallace, we've actually seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now when we look at his last 5 games, he faced off against Houston Rockets on March 4 and actually had 2 3-pointers made. Then after that faced off against Memphis Grizzlies, where he had 0 3-pointers made. After that on March 10 and 11 he had back-to-back games against Denver, or one of the games he only got 1 and the other game he got 2, and then finished off in the most recent game against Boston Celtics where he only had 1. So we actually have seen Wallace go on the under more than he has gone on the over, and that is a telltale sign for us, and his average over the last 5 is also 1.2. Now, the matchup that they do face off against is none other than the Detroit Pistons, which is going to be a very exciting game. Now, when we look at the Detroit Pistons, we do see that they have done a pretty decent job when it comes to their conference, because the Detroit Pistons do actually rank 6th with a record of 37 and 30. Now, when we look on the other side, Oklahoma City Thunder are in a great position as they have a win record of 54 and 12. Now, when we look at the Detroit Pistons, when we start off with 3-point percentages allowed, we do see that the Detroit Pistons rank 25th. Moving on to the 3-point attempts allowed, we see Detroit Pistons ranked 14th, so a little bit mid-tier in that as well. And then 3 points made allowed, somewhat similar, but they rank 21st when it comes to 3 points made allowed. Now, a big reason, even though Detroit Pistons do rank low, a big reason why we do very much like, the under for this situation here is due to the fact that when we look at a matchup like this, we actually do see that Detroit Pistons do a fantastic job at restricting 3-point percentages, 3-point attempts, and 3 points made to the guard position. And with someone like Cason Wallace, who doesn't necessarily have the highest usage rate in the 3-point department for this Oklahoma City Thunder team, we are expecting other players in this OKC team to take over and to have a little bit more usage rate. Like I always like to mention with players like Cason Wallace, he isn't really, intentionally getting the same amount of volume on 3-pointers every game. It's very situational due to the fact that he is very much a role player for this roster, and we are expecting that with Detroit's defense, he may not get the same amount of looks that he usually does see. So for that reason, we do definitely like the under for a situation like this. When we look at what the bookies are saying, that we see that the bookies have a similar situation there, as they also do agree with the under on this one. Now, Oklahoma City Thunder, as well as we all know, is a fast-paced team. Detroit Pistons on the other side are a little bit slower. But what we are expecting from this game is that OKC actually slow down and actually come down to Detroit Pistons pace. So because of that, we could see Cason Wallace get a little bit less volume than he usually does see, and a little bit less than he is usually used to. So for that reason, we definitely see that being a big reason why we do like the under for someone like Cason Wallace coming into this game. So for that reason, keep an eye out for Cason Wallace there. But Cason Wallace, 1.5, 3 points made for less, I think is a fantastic pick. Now getting to the next one, we're going to be talking about Karl-Anthony Towns. Now as you all know, Karl-Anthony Towns, great player. And when it comes to Karl-Anthony Towns, this one is a great one for 24.5 points. And this one actually is for less. Now, when we look at Karl-Anthony Towns, we've actually seen him go on the under in 4 out of the last 5 games. So, when we look at those games, March 3rd, he faced off against Miami Heat, where he only had 19 points. Then on March 7th, faced off against the LA Lakers, where he had 12 points, so a little bit worse there. After that, Los Angeles Clippers on March 8th, and he actually had 23 points in that one. Then, March 11th, Sacramento Kings had 26 points, and then against Portland Trail Blazers, he had 21 points. So very interesting there, because when we look at Karl-Anthony Towns, what we also do see is that he has really struggled as of lately when it comes to scoring, as he's gone on the under very consistently. Now his average over the last 5 has been 20.2, so significantly under this line, and now they face off against the Golden State Warriors. So the Golden State Warriors have done a fantastic job. Now the Golden State Warriors do rank when it comes to points allowed. They surprisingly rank very good, as they rank 8th. So they've done a fantastic job so far, as the Golden State Warriors have been able to really push it and do a fantastic job at actually restricting a lot of points. Now, on top of that, as we all know, this is obviously looking at throughout the season, but what we have seen is that ever since the Jimmy Butler trade, where Jimmy Butler has acquired, or has been acquired by the Golden State Warriors, what we have seen is that Golden State Warriors defense has definitely even improved and has restricted even more when it comes to points allowed. So we are expecting a very different game when it comes to Karl-Anthony Towns, as he will have a lot of the defensive pressure on him, and we could see Golden State Warriors continue to do a fantastic job at restricting points at will. Now, when we look on a per position basis as well, we do see that the Golden State Warriors do a fantastic job at restricting points from the big man position, whether that's power forward, whether that's center. We have seen time and time again that Karl-Anthony Towns does a fantastic job at, or they do a fantastic job at actually restricting someone of his caliber and of his position. So because of that, we definitely see having that a huge effect here. Now, although Golden State Warriors are a fast-paced team and New York on the other side are a little bit slower, we are expecting the pace to actually slow down, and we are actually expecting New York Knicks' pace to actually, slow down Warriors, and Warriors come down to them. So we may not see any little bit of extra pace from this New York Knicks team, so we could see what someone like Karl-Anthony Towns usually does see on a volume type basis, and that's a big reason why we also do like the under for this one. Now, when we look at what the bookies are saying, bookies also have been favored for the under as well, but I think that's definitely related to the cold streak that Karl-Anthony Towns has been on as of lately. Even the times that he has gone on the over, which was that most recent game against Clippers, it wasn't really that, not against Clippers, against Sacramento, it wasn't really that convincing, as he had 26 points, so only made it over by 1.5. So it has been a very tough time for Karl-Anthony Towns, and even as the season goes on with Golden State Warriors, we have noticed that Warriors do a fantastic job at restricting star players from points as well. We tend to see Warriors do a very interesting job when it comes to restricting stars, and we definitely see that happening here. So for that reason, we do very much like the under for this one. So Karl-Anthony Towns, 24.5 points for less, I think is a fantastic pick. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about none other than Patrick Williams. So, as we all know, Patrick Williams, great player, and this one is a fantastic one because this one is a points, rebounds, and assist, or as you all know it as PRA, for 13.5, and this one is for less. Now, look at Patrick Williams. We've actually seen him go on the under in 5 out of the last 5 games. So very interesting there. Now, when it comes to his last 5 games, we see that he faced off against the Golden State Warriors on February 9, only had 10 PRA. Then against Detroit on back-to-back games from February 12 to February 13, he had 8 PRA and then 5 PRA in that one. Then moving on from that, faced off against Indiana Pacers, where he only had a 6 PRA. After that, Brooklyn Nets, 13 PRA to finish it off, all actually going on the under. So we definitely take that into consideration, and is a big reason why we do like the under for this one. Now, his average over the last 5 is 8.4. So 8.4, that is very low and significantly lower than the actual line. And they do face off coming into this matchup against the Houston Rockets. So it is going to be an exciting game. Now, when we look at a team like the Houston Rockets, we do see that they rank third with a record of 42-25. So they haven't clinched playoffs just yet, but they continue to push on and try to get that done. Chicago Bulls, on the other hand, have a record of 28-38, which actually has them in the 10th spot. So, in the Eastern Conference, that is. So when it comes to someone like Patrick Williams, we definitely do see him struggling in this situation, because when we look at Houston Rockets, we see that they rank fourth when it comes to points allowed, first when it comes to assists allowed, and then rebounds allowed, they do rank seventh. So the Houston Rockets rank top 10 in all three categories, which is insane to see, and is one of the toughest teams when it comes to, really restricting points, rebounds, and assists. When we look on a per position basis as well, we do see that Houston Rockets do rank very well at restricting forwards, so that definitely helps out in his favor. And with all those things being said, we definitely see all these cases a big reasoning why we are liking the under for someone like Patrick Williams. Now, Houston Rockets are a little bit of a slower pace team than Chicago, and what we are expecting in this matchup is that we are expecting Houston to slow down not only just Chicago but Patrick Williams specifically, which should lead to less volume, so less points, less assists, and less rebounds. And that is a big reason why we are definitely liking the under for a situation like this. Although Patrick Williams is a decent player, he's definitely been on a cold streak as of recent, and we definitely see that continuing on into this next matchup, no doubt about it, especially against a Houston team who are not only just tough defensively, but also do a great job at slowing the pace down. So all signs point towards the under for this one. When you look at what the bookies are saying, bookies also have in favor for the under as well. So for that reason, we are liking the under. So Patrick Williams for 13.5 PRA, or points, rebounds, and assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick. So as you all know, I do want to get these picks out to you as soon as possible, but Prizepicks is delayed with some of their lines. So here are a couple of players you should definitely watch out for when their lines drop. So the first player we're going to be talking about is none other than Desmond Bane. Now, Desmond Bane is a fantastic player for the Memphis Grizzlies, and so far this season, he has been actually averaging 18.7 points, 6.2 rebounds, 5.5 assists, while also shooting 48.6% from the field. So he's done a fantastic job for none other than the Memphis Grizzlies, and the Memphis Grizzlies do have themselves a great matchup against the Miami Heat. Now, when we look at both of these teams, we do see that Miami Heat are continuing to push for a playoff spot. They currently have a record of 29-37 and rank 9th in the East. And then when you also look at the Grizzlies, who are doing very well, ranking 4th with a record of 42-25. Now, they haven't clinched just yet, so I think they will continue to play at a very high level. So we are expecting a very intense matchup between both of these teams. Now, when we look at the Miami Heat, we do see very interesting things, as Miami Heat do rank 7th when it comes to points allowed. On top of that, moving on into assists allowed, we see that they rank 16th, and then rebounds allowed, also see Miami Heat rank 23rd. So a little bit of an interesting one there. They rank pretty mid-tier in assists and rebounds, and a little bit higher in points. Now, when it comes to actually Desmond Bane, we do very much like the under for this situation here. A big reason being is that when it comes to someone like Desmond Bane, he does play the shooting guard position, and Miami actually do a fantastic job at actually restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the shooting guard position. And we definitely see that being the case coming into this matchup. Miami Heat as well also do play a slow pace type basketball, so do the Memphis Grizzlies, and because of that, we are expecting Miami to even slow down Desmond Bane and the rest of this Grizzlies team even more, which should lead to less volume in points, rebounds, and assists for someone like Bane. So that's another big reason why we do very much like the under for this one. When we look at someone Bane's recent games, he has scored recently 12 points, 3 assists, and actually 6 rebounds, so was under all of his lines in that one. Another game against Utah, he only had 17, 9, and 5, and then another game had 10 and 3 assists and also 7 rebounds. So he has had a little bit of a lower usage rate than he has seen over the last couple of games, and we definitely see that continuing on into this next matchup, no doubt about it. So definitely going to be an intense game, but at the end of the day, we do see Miami Heat doing a fantastic job defensively and should restrict him as much as possible. So for that reason, we are definitely sticking to the under for this situation for Desmond Bane. When it comes to focusing on one of them, I don't really see or need to focus on any of them. I think points, rebounds, and assists, you just want to keep an eye out for the line. If it is too close to his averages, then definitely look to go on the under. So I definitely see a lot of great value there. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Pascal Siakam. So, Pascal Siakam has been playing great for his team, Indiana Pacers. Now, the Pacers have been doing decently as well, but Pascal specifically has been averaging 20.8 points, 7.2 rebounds, 3.3 assists, while also shooting 52.4% from the field. So, he's done a fantastic job for the Indiana Pacers, but Indiana Pacers, when we look at their matchup, they do have themselves a very interesting matchup against the Milwaukee Bucks. So, it is a battle of the East. Now, when it comes to the Pacers, they do have a record of 37-28, which currently ranks them 5th when it comes to, their Eastern Conference. And then the Milwaukee Bucks, on the other hand, rank 4th with a record of 37-28 as well. So, they are technically tied. But when we look at this, both of these teams haven't clinched yet, so we are expecting a very, very intense game out of these two teams as they continue to push to really clinch a playoff spot. But looking at the Milwaukee Bucks, we do see something very interesting, because when it comes to points allowed, we see that the Bucks have definitely picked it up in the second half of the season, and now they actually rank 12th when it comes to points allowed. They also rank 11th when it comes to assists allowed, and then rebounds allowed rank a little bit lower as they rank 24th. So when we look at someone like Pascal Siakam, we do actually very much like the over for this situation here. But when it comes to actually the reason for this, it's due to the fact that Milwaukee Bucks actually do a very poor job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the power forward position. So we definitely see someone like Pascal being able to take advantage of this. And another telltale sign of this is that due to the fact that if we look at some of the most recent games, he is coming a game against Philly where he had 27 points, 4 assists, and 7 rebounds. But another game against Milwaukee Bucks where he actually had 25 points, 5 assists, and also 12 rebounds. So he actually beat his line in all 3 categories, and we expect Milwaukee Bucks, to have a similar type of defense, and we could see Pascal have a similar result coming into this matchup as well. So we are expecting the over for someone like Pascal, although Bucks do rank a little bit higher. They do very much struggle against the power forward position, and we definitely see someone like Pascal being able to take advantage of this and go over on his line. He definitely has a really good usage rate, as we all know, but when we look at the Bucks as well, what we also do see is that the Milwaukee Bucks are a pretty fast-paced team. So are the Pacers. So we are expecting a lot of volume and a lot of pace in this game, and it definitely should lead to the over for someone like Pascal. So this one's kind of just a no-brainer to us. You definitely want to keep an eye out for the line. If the line is under his averages, definitely look to go on the over. So I definitely see a lot of great value there. So definitely keep an eye out for Pascal. Now, getting into the next player, Zion Williamson. Okay, so Zion Williamson, great player, has been playing decently, averaging 24.2 points, 7.3 rebounds, 5.3 assists, while also shooting 56.3% from the field. Now, when it comes to, Zion Williamson and the New Orleans Pelicans, they do have themselves a great matchup against the San Antonio Spurs. So it is going to be an exciting matchup there. Now, when we look at both of these teams, first, let's look at Pelicans. Pelicans do rank 14th in their Western Conference, and they do have a record of 18-49. So second last team in the Western Conference, and they do face off against the San Antonio Spurs. Now, the San Antonio Spurs, on the other hand, actually have a record of 27-38 and actually ranks them 13th. So a very big difference between Pelicans and Spurs win-wise, but they are only one, slot away. Now, both of these teams, I think, are continuing to be in the bottom half, so we aren't expecting them to really be in the playoff conversation. But when we look at Spurs, we do see that Spurs do rank 23rd when it comes to points allowed. On top of that, we definitely see a great thing as Spurs also rank 23rd when it comes to assists allowed, and then 27th when it comes to rebounds allowed as well. So, with all these things being said, we still very much like the over for this situation here. Now, we are expecting Spurs to continue to tank in order to get a very, very high draft pick coming up, and that's why we aren't expecting Spurs to bring out all their best players or even play them correctly. Now, that could be said the same for someone like Zion and the New Orleans Pelicans, but still, even if Zion Williamson does play a little bit less of a usage rate, we still see someone like Zion being able to go over on this line, especially due to the easy matchup that he does face off against. We definitely see Zion being able to go over on his line in a hurry, and with Zion having such a really, really good usage rate in all three departments, especially for a Pelicans team who doesn't really have any other superstar besides Zion, that's a big, big reason why we do very much like the over for someone like Zion Williamson coming into this game. So, when we look at Spurs and Pelicans as well, we are expecting a decent amount of pace from both of these teams. Both are very fast-paced teams, so that works great there. But on top of anything else, what we also do see is that when it comes to Pelicans and Spurs, Spurs actually do a very poor job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the power forward position. So we definitely see someone like Zion Williamson being able to take advantage of this and going on the over here. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for the over for this situation for Zion Williamson. Keep an eye out for the line first, and like I always mention, if the line is under his averages, definitely look to go on the over. They'll definitely see a lot of great value there. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Aaron Gordon. So, Aaron Gordon, great player from the Denver Nuggets. And when it comes to the Denver Nuggets, they do have themselves a very interesting matchup against the Washington Wizards. Now, when we look at this matchup, what we also do see is that Aaron Gordon so far this season has been averaging 13.1 points, 4.8 rebounds, 3 assists, while also shooting 51.6% from the field. So when we look at these teams as well, Denver Nuggets do have a record of 43-24. Very, very good, which actually ranks them second in the West. And on top of that, they haven't actually clinched the playoffs just yet. They are, trying to get as many wins as possible in order to clinch it. But as of right now, they haven't clinched it just yet. On the other hand, you look at Washington Wizards and you see a different story. As Washington Wizards do rank 15th in the Eastern Conference, and they have a record of 14-51. So very, very poor record there. Now, when we look at Washington Wizards as well, when it comes to points, rebounds, and assists allowed, we see that ranked 30th when it comes to points allowed. Also, when we look at assists allowed, they do rank 25th, and then rebounds allowed, they do actually rank, pretty bad as well, as they rank 30th. So they rank pretty much almost last in every single category besides assists, but they still rank very, very low in assists. And because of that, we do very much like, the over for this situation for someone like Aaron Gordon. A big reason being is that when we look at someone like Aaron Gordon, he does have a decent usage rate in all these departments. Now, I would definitely focus a little bit more on points and rebounds, however. And a big reason being is that he does have a higher usage rate in both of those departments. But when we look at Washington Wizards, they actually do a very poor job at restricting points and rebounds to the power forward position. So we definitely see someone like Gordon being able to take advantage of that coming into this game. Now, Aaron Gordon as well, what we have seen over the last couple of games, he is coming off a game where he had 17 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Also another game where he had 27 points, 3 rebounds, and 1 assist as well. So he's had some pretty big games as of recent. And now that they do face off against a pretty easy Washington Wizards team, and also remember a Washington Wizards team that will continue to tank in order to get a high draft pick, we aren't expecting Wizards to come out firing. They are probably going to bring their B tier type team out there. And I think Aaron Gordon will just be able to take advantage of that. And since we aren't expecting that high of a line, since his average is a little bit lower, we definitely see him being able to achieve this, even if this game does end up in a blowout situation. Now, Wizards, on the other hand, is also a pretty fast-paced team. Denver, a bit of a slow-paced team, but what we have seen time and time again is that Washington Wizards do an absolute fantastic job at actually speeding up the pace of slower-based teams. So we definitely see that happening in this matchup, and for Aaron Gordon, it's definitely going to be beneficial, as we do like the over for him. So keep an eye out for his line. If the line is under his averages, definitely look to go in the over to definitely see a lot of great value there.